Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening from wherever you may be joining us around the world today. My name is Greg Shelton. I'll be the moderator for today's session, which is Digital Twin Technology for Asset Operators. This is the second in a series of LinkedIn Live events that we're hosting on the Infrastructure for Industry 4.0. Today we'll be digging into this game-changing technology that will impact both the energy process industries and other infrastructure owners across multiple different sectors. Having prepared for today's session with our two panelists, I can assure you that they are ready to lead us through a very engaging conversation on how this technology is reinventing the design, build, and operations of these asset-intensive industries. So with that, let's go ahead and meet today's panelists. April, we'll start with you.
Thank you, Greg. I'm president of Twinify Technologies with 30 years of experience managing software development and deployment initiatives for products that define risk and evaluate forward planning strategies for energy, water, and community domains. Twinify Technologies draws on decades of experience developing industrial software solutions to develop today's operational digital twins. We apply a unique and powerful combination of domain models and artificial intelligence to deliver integrated OEM-agnostic digital twin solutions for asset-intensive sectors.
And Dave?
Hi. So I've been with Black & Veatch for 38 plus years now, but I lead our data analytics group here within Asset Management Services. Maybe best known for running 4 monitoring and diagnostic centers, 3 in the US, 1 in India, doing 24-hour, 7x24 monitoring and diagnostics. And we leverage technology providers like Twinify to bring us the technologies to deploy, in the monitoring and the O&M space.
Great. Thank you both for being here today and obviously getting into this very interesting topic. Before we dive in, do have a few housekeeping items I want to cover off on with the audience. So first, you can use the LinkedIn Live chat feature to ask questions throughout the event. We'll do our best to get to as many of those questions as time allows. Our team will be doing their best to answer some of those questions throughout today's session or as we get to the end. And then lastly, this will be recorded. So if there's anything you want to come back to, you can always revisit the Black & Veatch LinkedIn page and find that recording. And of course, you can share it out with any friends and colleagues as you find this hopefully useful as you learn more about digital twin technologies. So with that handled, let's get right into our conversation today. So as we mentioned, this is a series covering off on some of the changes that we're seeing and having an impact as part of this broader megatrend of Industry 4.0. And there's been a lot of discussion on the impact and the role that digital twins and AI can have on this megatrend transition. It's been a key differentiator in the asset management sector. So I'll start off with probably the question that's on everyone's mind. It's also the shortest question, which is, what is a digital twin?
Well, it's a great question. I get that question a lot, Greg. And in some sense, maybe it's because there isn't a lot of standardization, maybe in the industry as to what constitutes a digital twin. So when there's that gap, then marketing, social media, and overlapping applications maybe take the definition pretty wide. But let's try to break it down a little bit. At its simplest and maybe highest level, a digital twin is a virtual representation of that kind of represents the real-time counterpart, if you want to say, of an asset or a process. So if you take that grounding, then I've kind of seen it as either design-based twins or performance-based twins. Much of the initial focus around digital twins seemed to be in the design basis, where OEMs of complex and high-performance assets like combustion turbines, as an example, developed digital twins to optimize design and manufacturing processes and that type of thing. But for the context of today, we're going to go the other way. We're going to talk about performance twins. So now we're talking about a digital representation of an asset more focused on the performance, health, and reliability of that asset. So 3 primary attributes. First, you need a model, some form of algorithmic model of the asset or process. You need lots of data that, whether real-time or not, that relates to the performance and health of the asset. And then you put the two together, they need to drive actionable insight into the assets and the process around performance, health, and reliability.
Thanks, Dave. And I'm going to expand on that just a little bit. Dave talked about model data providing insight. The modeling is the secret sauce, really. So we incorporate the data. We also include math. We're looking at modeling techniques, which may be one or maybe many. And our goal is to represent the past and the present, but then also to simulate predicted futures. So you know what's happening now, but you can also look forward to what will happen in the future. As Twinify implements digital twins, we're looking for data sources that from systems that collect data on operations, maintenance, potentially emissions, sustainability, and depending on your role, you may want to incorporate budget or other financial information. Whatever data you want available to you as you make decisions about your assets. So then the digital twin will collect and filter historical data so that we can establish baselines. We want to continuously interpret current data to build our knowledge base and update projections, aggregate data and calculated results in a way that's easy for non-technical employees to understand and act upon, and then provide drill downs for technical employees who need to understand the detail. Greg?
So building on that, then, I think you talked about some of the end uses of a digital twin. More specifically, I think the objective, as Dave kind of touched on, is to have these assets running at an optimal level, because obviously that's how they generate revenue and profit. So how is it that, or what are some of those benefits that digital twins really help deliver as those end users start to utilize that data?
Let me take a shot at that one, Greg, first. And maybe I can best illustrate an answer to that by reflecting on what we do today in our monitoring diagnostic centers, where we use advanced pattern recognition technology, which is kind of a precursor. It's a form of AI and ML. AI and machine learning techniques that, in short, learn patterns of historic data and then use those learned patterns to predict what should be happening today and detect change, or we call them anomalies, to when operating data doesn't match the prediction, and typically it's a leading indicator of an emerging problem, with the asset or process. And so to get to the benefit of that, that early notification, typically well before any control alarm limits would hit, does a few things. Number one, it gives the operations and maintenance team time. Time's a valuable commodity. To, number one, hopefully avoid failure. Failure is always your most costly negative event. Two, as you alluded to, if I can keep the operation running closer to the design intent, it'll be operating more efficiently. And third, when I do need to perform maintenance, if I can perform it as planned or scheduled maintenance versus reactive maintenance, which is always most costly and disruptive. So usually the benefits manifest themselves in those 3 areas.
And April, what do you see from the Twinify side as it relates to things like performance, health, and reliability?
Well, as Davis said, good summary there. But with appropriate calculations and using available data, the operational digital twin can move beyond the current performance and the near-term failures to do a multi-term, multi-year outlook. For example, reducing the guesswork and conservative estimates on equipment replacement timelines. This gets into the longer-term planning, and it's no longer focused on a specific asset or even a plant, but it needs to look across the entire system, the entire portfolio, weighing the options and understanding the decisions available to the owners of the system.
So I think for the benefit of our audience, you prepared, I think, an example of that. So I think we can take a look at what that actually looks like in a dashboard view. We'll get that up on the screen here for the audience to take a look at. And if you can, just kind of walk us through what you see as you look at this and how you would use this to help asset owners understand decision making based on what's on this report.
Sure will, Greg. Thanks. So, as Dave mentioned, anybody operating any system wants to know what is happening right now. And so in this interpretation of a dashboard screen, when we like, the top banner tells you exactly that, what is happening right now to your assets, to your fleet, to the individual equipment. So some people understand the numbers. We've got the numbers up there. If they're the technical folks, they want to know details, and we've provided them right there. Other folks are not going to have the numbers in mind that they need to see on screen. They're going to be more interested in the red, yellow, green heat map, which we've got just below the banner towards the left. So looking at the assets and where they are, just how they're quick view of how they're operating. In this particular dashboard, we've got a row for performance. We've got one for health, where we are right now. And then we've got one for reliability, which looks out into the future and tells you something about the potential future state of your assets. Then we have other areas of the screen that provide more information, more details, different tabs that provide a lot more details on what's going on with a particular piece of equipment, so that there is that information for the detail person who wants to know what's going on. Then we'll also notice that we've got different methods of navigation, primarily the asset navigation on the left. So if I want to know what's happening with inverter 15 today, because we've had problems with it in the past, I can go directly to inverter 15 and see the details of that. If I see a yellow or a red square in my heat map, I would like to click on that and provide and see information on the particular piece of equipment that might be causing the red in my heat map. And then way over on the right, some form of geographical opportunity to drill into my particular assets and understand from that view where they are and what's going on. So just a number of different ways to provide information that the person who just needs a high-level view of what's going on can get that, and the person who needs more detail can also find what he or she is looking for in the lower areas. Dave, did you have anything to add?
Yeah, I like the way you outlined that. And as a user, we whether it be in our M&D centers or we are an O&M provider, and we use this view really just as you're saying, that we're looking for visual clues as to where to spend any time and effort. We don't want to needlessly drill through data or screens or history, anything like that. We're looking for the digital twin to draw our attention to the areas that need attention. And the heat map is a good example of that. We can, we know we get perspectives on performance, health, and reliability, and a summary level view right there, that then we can drill down, when it reaches a yellow or a red stage, use that as a visual clue to drill into that asset to better understand why it's alerted, if you want to say. Drill further into the data when we need to understand it. And then, more importantly, quickly then get to scheduling the maintenance operations or maintenance activity to resolve it. The faster we can get to understanding the problem and defining the response, the more efficient we can be with issuing the work order, whether it be for our site maintenance team or to roll a truck to get to a remote site.
So we got an audience question that's relevant to this. So I'm going to insert it here as a follow-up, which is the twin able to name the issue based on past red flags or spots on the heat map when the issues are similar or known problems?
That's definitely the goal we want to get to. Of course, in order to do that, you have to have the data that backs up that decision, that data point. And so, yes, given all the caveats that you expect me to say, that's our goal. That's where we want to get to.
Yeah, I'd say we're a step short of that in today's generation of the technology, but I think with a little bit more data and gained into these frameworks, we'll be there soon.
Very good. So I think then building off of that, obviously there's a roadmap here. And there's already been, I think, some significant progress with this over the last few years. So talk to us a little bit about what is it that people need to start to consider for this digital twin technology in terms of the framework or other considerations of who to partner with as they start to look at making this a part of their operations?
Well, I'll maybe take a shot at that first. And I guess there's maybe been a myth out there that this type of technology is too big and too expensive to deploy for anybody but the largest power generation companies and or industrial companies. And maybe there were reasons for that at the time. For a long time, there was a reluctance to move from on-premise systems and analytics to cloud. There was also the cost to deploy were pretty high at times. And maybe the most important element is there was a tendency to need a lot of dedicated subject matter experts, data scientists in some cases, performance engineers to not only deploy, but to utilize the technology to high effect. And those were kind of perceived and maybe a case were high hurdles for companies to make good use of the technologies. But I would say what I've seen in the later generations of these technologies, and as you can see in the directions that Twinify is going, that the visualization capabilities of the software, along with the analytic capabilities to automate, to use templating, asset class templating that can be repeated over and over again, to starting to use bots to do some of the deployment activities, and then looking further, hoping to use generative AI to maybe further automate writing work orders, or at least starting points for work orders and that type of thing. I think the entry point is relatively low now, and I think the benefits to be gained are expanding exponentially.
Thanks
yes,
for that,
Dave.
Yeah, go ahead, April.
Sorry. We focused a lot today on the twin itself of the asset or the equipment. But once you've got that data and the calculated results available, you want to use that information across your enterprise and in all your decision support systems. So now we're beginning to talk about digital transformation beyond just digital twins. You want a single set of data, a single source of truth. So we want to look for twins that include APIs that allow data transfer both in and out. And then look also for dashboarding capability that pulls all the data together and contextualizes it. So if you're talking about one particular plant and you have three different software systems that deal with that plant, ideally you want to pull the information from all three systems together so that you can understand everything that's going on. You don't have to go to pull up three different softwares to understand the details about that one particular plant. So just some things like that you might want to think about a little bit as you look to get started. Twinify's goal is to move our clients to discrete actionable insights faster and more reliably and with more detail than they could otherwise achieve. And so you need to know about the decisions and events that require immediate attention, but also those decisions and events that are looming. You need access to the information that enables you to make the best choices. And I believe that digital twins can get you there.
Very good. Well, we've got some audience questions starting to roll in, so I'm going to move on to some of those. So first question for the two of you is related to how the digital twin platform with Twinify, for example, integrates with a traditional monitoring and diagnostics tool. And is that something that is completed by a firm like Black & Veatch so it can be ready to use by clients?
Well, we may both have answers there. We see this as a different class of framework than monitoring and diagnostics. We're trying to generally solve a different problem. There is maybe a monitoring component to it in the sense that you still want to understand abnormal events that are happening at a site. But as April alluded to, we're trying to integrate to action through the work management process, and in a very if not single pane, at least integrated environment. And so there could be multiple sources of analytic models, but the integration on the backside with work management, alarming, control, we think are where a lot of the benefits are going to come from. April, what's your view on that?
Yes. So would we integrate with an M&D solution? Absolutely. If we can come up with compatible APIs. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you get companies that don't want to share their data or don't want to share their results. So that presents the challenge to everybody, not just us. But where we can, we absolutely want to be doing integrations. Just our goal is to provide all of the information to the user that they need to make their decisions.
Very good. Okay, so next question is regarding asset class templates that can help speed up deployment. The question is, will I see an ROI if these templates are not customized or tuned to my particular equipment?
Well, a template doesn't mean unchangeable or rigid, maybe a better word. There's always a tailoring whenever you use a template to the particulars of an asset class. So it's not an absolute copy, if you want to say, or structure. So you do get the ROI because the speed of deployment from our, as deployers, if we want to say, of the technology, is very clear. But we always reserve the need and to tailor. I use tailor rather than tune the template to the actual situation.
April, any thoughts on that question from your side?
I'm going to disagree just a tiny bit because any information and any pulling data together is going to be better than none. And so even though we start with a template, that template is going to pull in data and it's going to tell you something. It may not tell you the exact number, but it will enable you to see trends. So you understand what direction am I trending. You may not know, am I above a limit with a digital twin, not calibrated, not well tailored, but you can still understand something. So then when you, as you gain understanding and confidence in your twin and you start to tailor, then you'll want to focus on those twins or those pieces of equipment that are most critical and or the ones where you see the most failures and or the ones where you have the best data sets, and continue to build from there. It doesn't have to be an all or nothing, absolutely, and I'm sure Dave will agree with that. Mm-hmm. But to just get started, you can take small steps and then incrementally improve upon that. I believe you still see ROI.
Very good. Well, again, thank you both. We're coming up on time. I think we have just one more question. April, you just sort of touched on it there, but always like to end with an action item for the audience. But if you had to give, one good tip on how to get started, I think, April, you just maybe touched on it, but if you have another one, what would that tip be for the folks coming out of today's session?
Well, in addition to what I've said, start small, prove the value proposition, prioritize the customization on critical or high failure equipment or where you have the most data, and you feel most confident you can get an ROI. But also to look at the company that you're dealing with. Can they grow with you? Can they provide expansion? Can they move from the equipment to the fleet view? How is their aggregation as they look at the fleet view? Is it just a few metrics on the plants, or are they truly aggregating so you get an overall view of what's going on? Can we look at both reliability and performance? Can we understand history and at the same time look at future projections? So start small. Find somebody who's willing to start small with you if that's what you need, but also look at their expansion capability. Dave, anything to add?
No, I think that's all good advice. The worst case would be to not start at all.
Yeah. Very good, and good advice from both of you. Again, thank you both for your time today. We are coming up on our 12:30 mark here Central Standard Time. So we're going to be wrapping up. If you had a question, we didn't get to it, our community managers are going to be following up with our panelists, and we'll see about following up with you all outside of this session. But again, thank you to the audience for attending today, and again to our speakers for their time and their insight on the digital twins topic. And remember, you can share or rewatch this anytime on Black & Veatch's LinkedIn page. So thank you all again so much for attending today's session. Have a good day.